48 minutes of game with me, your host, Chris Johnson. Kennedy, where you at?
We're right here. It's about to go down another episode of 48 minutes of game, and it's time for us to kick it off with quarter number one. We're going to get straight into it. I mean, he's got multiple talents. He goes by the name of Robert Johnson. Robert, tap in with us. What's up? What's good?
It's good to see everybody. It's good to see you, Chris, man. How's everybody?
Now I know, guys. So everybody that's tapping in. So right now, Rob, we're live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then it goes right into my podcast. So for everybody out there that talks about working hard, Rob been at the office since early this morning. He's been grinding. He's been putting in the work. And Rob, I'm happy to have you on 48 minutes a game. So this first quarter, the way we break down 48 minutes a game is 12 minutes a quarter, just like the NBA.
Okay.
So what we want to do is try to educate, equip, and excel as many people as possible by picking your brain, by giving information and giving them guidance to be either becoming an attorney, a lawyer, or opening their own practice. Okay. Right. So you guys know right off the bat, Rob, being a basketball player, a Division I basketball player, and a professional basketball player, how did you choose to go into being a lawyer, an attorney, in that transition from being an athlete?
It's a good question. I went to Rice University in Houston. I played basketball there, hooped a little bit in France for a couple years in the preseason with the Bulls and Warriors. Eventually the sport will, it's not when you want to retire, it's when the sport tells you to retire because you can't get another contract. So I guess that was one of my services. So I was like, well, I better, pick something to do. I mean, I didn't really want to be a lawyer, to be honest with you. Most of my experiences with attorneys were with agents, right? Some would be agents. And that kind of like, that was my access to those type of people initially, but I knew I didn't want to be like a judge or in court or anything like that. So maybe I could help. I didn't know the laws has so many different avenues you can get into, but I knew what I did want to get into. So playing basketball, you learn how to work hard. Getting up, making 1,000 shots a day. That's kind of that hard work, and whatever you do in dedication applies across the board. So I was like, well, I have this energy that if I can just, I had for years I'd been focusing in on basketball, right? So let me like a gun pointed towards something else. I like if you're really a hooper, it's like I'm gonna hoop till I die. And honestly, I didn't think of life after basketball. And so, when it's done, you immediately got to say, well, what am I going to do with myself? So, I was in Barnes and Nobles. I grabbed the LSAT book, honestly, and I was like, well, I guess I need to go to some type of grad school until I figured it out, because I still didn't know. I was looking at MCAT, like, I don't want to be a doctor. It's like, I could be a lawyer, I could go to business school. So did a couple messing around when they still had Barnes and Nobles. Sitting in there, I did a couple questions, like, maybe I can do this, and then took the LSAT and started law school, and that's honestly how I got into it. But it was funny, the skills from a basketball player really correlate. You wouldn't think, right? Because people, law school, people come from all different walks of life, but that, it's just rigorous, like
it's the rigor. It's the ongoing.
Yeah, and you can also focus. Law school is kind of like a pressure cooker, right? Because it's like one grade, like the whole semester, and then you got, with sports, you have the, off the bat, like at the end of the game, I either scored, 50, you scored 60, you win, right? And but all you can control is your effort, and you get that from sports. Even if you lose, like, well, I'm gonna make it hard on him tonight if you're trying to guard somebody who is gonna
right. So
So
Kennedy, bring up that question. So Rob, we got a question for you. Okay,
yeah,
what was harder, being a lawyer or training for the upcoming season as a professional athlete?
I think training for an upcoming season, to be honest, because it's physically taxing on top of being mentally taxing. Law
It's
school,
both.
it's both. It's both. Like I, I think going to Rice to me was tougher than law school because at Rice I'm sitting in the library with ice on my knee or something, and you're beat up, and then you're studying. Like, if I ever get the chance to do just one thing, I'm gonna kill that.
You're
So,
gonna kill it.
yeah. So,
So
but
let
with
me ask you this, Rob. So I'm gonna, because I want people to be able to see themselves, because there's a lot of people that play basketball. It's a lot of players, male and female, that are in the sports period.
right.
Uh, that work ethic, that commitment to a particular sport taught you a lot and has really pushed you into your field. Can you give us the name, first of all, of the firm that you're working for,
Yeah, I'm at
or you work, or that you're partner with?
Yeah, I'm a partner in the corporate group. I'm an M&A attorney. M&A stands for mergers and acquisition. Basically, when companies buy other companies. That's my specialty. But I do general transaction work. I'm at a law firm called Gibbons PC. We're in New York. We have office. I'll go between Manhattan, Newark, New Jersey. Our Manhattan office is actually closed because of COVID right now. But I'm in our Newark office now. We have in Trenton. We're in Philadelphia. We're in Florida. We're in Washington, D.C. Sometimes I work out of the D.C. office. So we're we're AmLaw 200 firm. So that means over 200 attorneys, kind of like a designation, service all types of major corporate clients.
So we have a question. Kennedy, bring that question up. Why is it important to have more Black lawyers?
Oh, it's not just Black lawyers, Black partners, right? In
Right.
particular, these big corporations of law firms, and I say AmLaw 200 firms, firms that employ 200 plus lawyers, right? Because, that's where all the business of the world is done through these institutions, these businesses, right? They have major government clients, hedge funds, private equity funds on the finance side, they represent family offices, really wealthy individuals. So all of, they're kind of like, a lot of the major transactions that affect how you live, I live, are kind of influenced by these firms, right? So we need more, in particular, Black representation in these fields, right? It's not that we can't do it. These fields have been traditionally closed to us, right?
Right.
They've been like finance, hedge funds. These are like when we were growing up in Waco, we didn't know stuff like this exists, right?
Right.
And it's not, mystified. We can do it in Excel, but it's just having the opportunity. At one point in time, Black people weren't allowed to participate in basketball, football, baseball. And you see, once the doors are open at a fair way, you see how well we excel. So it's just something else. It might not seem as kind of glamorous, because it's not. I'd much rather be hooping, to be honest with you.
Right.
But
But Rob, we spoke earlier this morning, like it was 5 my time, and you were in the office, and one thing stood out that was like super. It just stood out to me. You said that most people don't realize that they could become an attorney or a top. They look at being into the NBA, or they look at the NFL or Major League Baseball, which is harder
much harder.
to
Yeah.
get it. It's much harder to become a professional athlete than what it would be to be an attorney by trade.
Or working at some hedge fund in Manhattan. It's a lot of just normal dudes walk around, multimillionaires. You don't even know who they are. They're just working for some hedge fund. Those are jobs that we can get into. It's just they're not.
You have to know their value.
Yeah, but it's important for us to have representation in those fields, in particular finance, law, because they dictates the way the world works. It dictates where funding goes to invest in business. We had a conversation about that, about like why you don't see as many Black-owned companies going public. Not that they don't have great ideas or capable business partners. It's just, the majority, like 99.9% of the venture capital dollars, don't go into investing in these companies. And if you don't get the VC money, you're never going to be able to scale up to where you can go public, So
Right.
these are things that, we're 100 years behind in that.
So you're a part of a group that is focused on raising money and funding. What's the name of that group?
There are a lot of angel groups. That's as companies we spoke about it earlier. As companies look for funding, you start with friends and family rounds, angel rounds, and an angel investor is a person who, is a wealthy individual or higher net worth or SEC accredited investor who wants to invest something traditionally in real estate or something. They look at, businesses or what a good representation. And then the seed financing, venture capital financing, private equity, and then maybe you go public then you go to the world, like invest in me. But one of my diversity initiative is partnering with the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership, ran by a very intelligent woman from Harvard, Jill Johnson, who sets out like a Black angel group, and she's highlights and showcase Black, and her focus is Black women of color owned businesses, right? Have fantastic ideas. It's just that they need that funding to kind of get to the next level to be able to scale up as their kind of journey to become bigger and bigger. So
I know you mentioned before how, growing a business starts with like your friends and family.
Right.
You talked about the difference between even the Black communities and other communities. When you're first starting something, you kind of look to the people right next to you.
Right.
What's the difference? Because I want to educate people on this. What's the difference and how does that look so lopsided in the Black community versus other communities?
Well, I mean, that's when you get knowing the history about this is important, and why we don't see a lot of, heavy investment in Black owned businesses, right? So, systemically, like from targeted, from redlining to Jim Crow, all those things. Where my grandma's still alive, so lived through all this. So if she's still alive, that whole system in place to kind of hold Black people down. You have all these HBCUs. Why are HBCUs? Why were they created? Because they wouldn't let Black people go to college, right? So that slows you in terms of if you don't come from money, education is the only way, right? That you're going to be able to like up your, up the socioeconomic scale. And so that's part of the history, right? So you're behind, right? It's targeted by the government, the U.S. government, right? So, where you start with home owning, like most people's wealth start by owning a home. It's the first bit of family wealth, right? Systemically, historically, we've been kind of precluded from that, right? So when in our community, if we ask someone, hey, we need some money to start a business, we're lucky if we get $500 to $1,000, you know what I mean? Especially where we come from. People that I work with, they raise a friends and family round, and it's like a couple $100,000. Right? So your idea will sound a lot better if you have a couple $100,000 to it versus $1,000 to it. And that's just the reality where that's right. As you get into the race, that's kind of where you start right there. Right. So, and after that friends and family round, you try to get the angel investors. You might, and it might not even be money. You don't have people in your family who are lawyers or people or accountants or finance people to tell you like, well, maybe if we don't give you money, I can give you free legal work to help set your company up, help clean up your cap table. If you're going to present a demo day, maybe I can steer you towards an accelerator group to kind of help you present for venture capital groups to invest in you. That's some of the stuff that we've been excluded from historically and still. But that's
good. That's good stuff, man. We got a good question, Kennedy. I want to bring up the question and we'll bring you back, Kennedy. When should a up and coming business hire an asset protection lawyer after crowdfunding?
So when should it so your new business, I think the new question, if you're a new business, when should you hire a lawyer after crowd? So you raise some money from crowdfunding, right? I think you should have some type of relationship. A lot of times with these companies, lawyers are not cheap, right? They keep you out of trouble, but as soon as you can afford it, that's a valuable investment. It's a reason why all these major public companies hire teams of in-house lawyers and then spend millions of dollars for outside lawyers, right? Because they guide them through all the pitfalls of doing business, all the regulations. Because the more successful you get, you're going to have a relationship with a lawyer. If you're successful, you're going to have an attorney. If you're not using a lawyer, you're not probably on the trajectory where you want to be. But I would just say as soon as possible to kind of make sure you're not running afoul of, there's exemptions for crowdfunding, but as soon as you get money in terms of where you want to invest it and focus it, it's helpful to kind of bounce that off the idea of a lawyer or some type of trusted advisor.
Absolutely, man. Rob, you dropped 12 minutes a game, man. We're going to make sure that our group that support 48 minutes a game get opportunity to see it. It's going to be on my YouTube. It's going to be on our Facebooks, our Instagrams, and our LinkedIn. Rob, can you drop information where you can be found? Because Rob is my attorney, and he's really helping me build my business legally, from trademarks, from patents on my products, from independent contracts, from even assessments and everything. So Rob, I appreciate you, and Kennedy, let's get Rob out.
Rob, thank you so much, dropping gems about business, Black colleges, home ownership. Wow, home ownership. Ooh, so many gems. We're gonna go ahead and roll over to quarter number 2, and we have none other than